There comes a moment when silence no longer feels powerful. You stop replying, you stop reaching out, you tell yourself this distance is strength, but deep down, something feels off. Because silence, when fueled by hope, is not control. It's restraint mixed with expectation. You're quiet, yet still watching, still wondering if they noticed, still waiting for the moment your absence finally lands. Stoicism warns us about this trap. Not all silence is discipline. Some silence is attachment wearing a calm mask. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people never face. If your silence is meant to provoke a reaction, you're still emotionally present. Real power begins when silence stops being a message and becomes a byproduct of detachment. When nothing needs to land, when nothing needs to be felt, when they no longer occupy space, not in your inbox and not in your mind. The lie about no contact. No contact is often praised as the ultimate move. Block them, disappear, say nothing, and on the surface it looks disciplined. But Stoicism asks a harder question. What is happening inside you? If no contact is fueled by anger, hope, or the desire to be missed, then it isn't strength. It's an emotional protest. You're still reacting, just silently. Many people mistake distance for detachment. They cut communication, but keep the attachment alive in their thoughts, their fantasies, their need for validation. That is not freedom. That is waiting in disguise. Stoic philosophy never teaches escape. It teaches mastery. And mastery doesn't come from removing someone from your phone. It comes from removing them from your emotional economy. Until that happens, no contact is not an ending. It's a pause filled with expectation. Why silence still feeds them? Silence feels like absence, but psychologically, it often isn't. When you go quiet, yet continue to think about them, check their actions, or replay conversations in your head, you're still feeding the connection, just privately. Stoicism makes this distinction clear. Attention is access. They don't need your words. They don't need your messages. As long as they occupy emotional space, they still have influence. Silence without detachment is not withdrawal. It's a paused engagement. And here's the part most people miss. People don't feel your silence directly. They feel your availability. If you're still emotionally reachable, still reactive inside, still hoping they notice, then your silence is not power. It's restraint without freedom. True Stoic control begins when your silence is no longer intentional, because there is nothing left to withhold. What hurts more than silence? Silence creates uncertainty. It leaves room for hope, curiosity, and imagined meaning. But there is something far more final. It is emotional withdrawal, not anger, not resentment, not the cold performance of indifference. True withdrawal is quiet and complete. You stop assigning emotional weight. You stop checking. You stop needing them to understand. From the outside, nothing dramatic happens. No confrontation, no announcement, no last message. And that is why it cuts deeper. Silence still suggests presence, just muted. Emotional withdrawal removes presence entirely. People don't fear being ignored. They fear becoming irrelevant. When someone realizes they no longer occupy space in your inner world, there is nothing to negotiate, nothing to fix, nothing to win back. That absence is not a tactic. It is a conclusion, and conclusions cannot be undone. The psychological impact on them, silence makes people wonder. It triggers curiosity, doubt, and ego-driven questions. But emotional withdrawal does something else entirely. It removes reference. When you stop reacting internally, not just externally, people lose the ability to read their importance in your life. There is no signal to interpret, no tension to resolve, and that creates unease. The human mind can tolerate dislike. It can even tolerate conflict, What it struggles with is indifference. Indifference collapses the narrative. It offers no role to play, no image to repair, no reaction to chase. They may sense it before they understand it. Conversations feel flatter. Their presence carries less weight. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because you're no longer available to be affected. That shift is subtle. And psychologically, it is devastating. Weak men go silent. Strong men detach. Silence is easy to perform. Anyone can stop replying. Anyone can disappear and call it strength. Detachment is harder. Weak men go silent, hoping to be missed. They withdraw their words, but keep their emotions on standby. Every day of silence is measured by expectation. Strong men do something different. They don't monitor reactions. They don't count days. They don't wait for regret to appear. They remove emotional investment. Not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Stoic strength is not about absence on the surface. It's about independence beneath it. When a man detaches, his mood no longer shifts with someone else's behavior. His focus returns inward. His energy stops leaking outward. Silence is an action. Detachment is a state. One can be broken, the other is final. Forgiveness versus access. Stoicism makes a distinction most people avoid. Forgiveness is internal. Access is external. You can release anger without reopening the door. You can let go of resentment without restoring closeness. Peace does not require proximity. Many confuse forgiveness with tolerance. They believe healing means allowing someone back into their emotional space. Stoicism rejects this. Forgiveness clears your mind. Access shapes your future. One is about freedom from the past. The other is about protection going forward. A Stoic does not hold grudges, but he also does not ignore patterns. He observes calmly. He adjusts quietly. When someone repeatedly costs you your peace, removing access is not punishment. It is alignment. You don't need to explain the boundary. You simply live beyond it. That is not cruelty. That is self-respect in its most disciplined form. Silence can be noticed, but detachment is felt. You don't need dramatic exits. You don't need final messages. You don't need to prove that you are hurt. Stoic strength is quieter than that. It is the moment you stop carrying someone in your inner world, when their actions no longer disturb your focus, when their absence no longer requires effort. This is not avoidance. This is resolution. You forgive without reopening doors. You move on without announcements. You reclaim your energy without hostility, and that is why it works. Not because they feel punished, but because you are no longer available to be affected. When you master this, your peace stops being fragile. Your presence becomes steady, and your life no longer revolves around who stayed, who left, or who noticed your silence. That is Stoicism in practice. Quiet, clear, and unshakable.